The clock struck midnight again. I tried ignoring the uncomfortable sensation I was going through. This is what hard feels like, I reminded myself as I went back to calling people trying to sell them my marketing services. It's been like this nearly every day for the past 18 months. I wish I could get out of this, but this cage is of my own design. I worked so hard to build my own business and it has turned into a trap. After hours of calling and dealing with rejection after rejection, I try to convince myself it's all worth it. The money will come and alongside it the freedom. Just one more call, I think to myself. My eyes are burning, I can barely take it any longer. I dial the phone and managing to compose myself, I book a prospect for a meeting the following day. I should be ecstatic about the achievement, but quite the opposite. A sense of anxiety creeps over me. I know that the more clients I get, the more work it entails. I barely enjoy my life right now, and I can just imagine what adding another set of clients will mean for me. My head hits the pillow, and the thoughts of the day start to flash through my eyes. The only thing I can recall is sitting at the computer for upwards of 12 hours. What did I even do with my day? I think to myself, am I even living my life? I shift in bed trying to ignore these thoughts, but they're too loud. The exhaustion starts to fade away as the clock kept ticking. If I don't sleep, I'll feel more tired tomorrow and my routine will spiral out of control. But despite knowing the implications, I just couldn't shake off the thoughts. It must have been a few hours before I actually fell asleep. The alarm went off as usual at 7 a.m. My hand darts towards my phone and shuts it off within just a few seconds. I don't even consider the possibility of getting up though. My head hits the pillow again. The sun's rays wake me up a few hours later. I really should have woken up. The guilt of having failed my first task of the day is demotivating. Now it feels as if the whole day has been derailed. I also don't feel like going to a gym anymore. To be fair, I've stopped enjoying the gym since it became a chore I needed to do 6 times a week with slow, boring movements as opposed to something more exhilarating or fulfilling. This is what hard feels like, I remind myself as I get into my sports clothes and walk towards the gym. The amount of activities that not only felt unfulfilling, but actually were making me feel empty started to pile on. My life started to feel like I was living on autopilot, despite having designed everything myself. The thought that I had been chasing someone else's goals was not something I even wanted to entertain. I kept my head down and kept working on what I needed to do in order to gain financial freedom. Days started to become a blur of mindless work. I could rest any day of the week, but I still looked forward to the weekend when I could just have a valid reason to not do any work. You would think with this lifestyle that I was dead broke, doing everything possible to barely scrape by, but it was quite the opposite. I was making more than enough money to not only not have to stress for months about work, but it was the emptiness that I couldn't deal with. What is this money for if I hate my day-to-day? I started to spend the money mindlessly. After all, it didn't mean anything to me. So much time went into generating it, but so little thought went into spending it. I kept up the mindless routine, every afternoon sitting down, dialing the phone for hours on end, dealing with disrespectful people until I couldn't take it anymore. During one of the countless forgettable afternoons of endless calls and putting out fires, I finally snapped. Is this truly how I'm choosing to spend my life? It was a simple thought, but the realization was profound, and it broke me. I folded my arms on the table and put my head between them, staring at the floor with a feeling of emptiness across my entire body. I tried to cry, but I couldn't. I walked towards my bed and laid down. I'll get back up. I always get back up, I kept repeating to myself. A few hours passed before I could stand up again and deal with the next fire I needed to put out. The lifestyle I had dreamed about was consuming me. I needed to find a solution, and fast. On paper, everything was perfect. Remote work, living on my own terms, but in reality I was struggling deeply with a sense that I was wasting my life. I needed a break. Not just a weekend where the problems of the week would still creep up on my mind, but an extended one. The following months were catastrophic for my business. I barely focused on getting new clients. I was so focused on relaxing my mind that my revenue was cut in half in just a matter of weeks. From the outside, everything I had worked for was falling apart. But for me, it was a totally different story. I finally felt the bliss of enjoying what I had worked for. An hour of sauna every day, hours of walking around the city without any specific goal in mind, activities that previously I would have rushed or skipped altogether, I was enjoying them for the first time. Aside from the small things that I chose to overlook previously, I came back to the activity which I had put aside until I was rich, which was music. My belief was that I could put off what made me the happiest until some imaginary future arrived where I was actually so rich that I could just focus completely on music. I realized in that moment when I felt broken that our future isn't guaranteed. I couldn't keep sacrificing days in hopes that someday I could do what made me the happiest or the most fulfilled. I immediately cut my workload from 12 hours a day to 4 hours, with music production taking up the rest of my free time. Since that day, I understood that the key wasn't to succeed as fast as possible while leaving an emotional wreckage, but rather to live every day with as much fulfilling work as possible, mixed with creative and social activities. In the beginning stages, we're forced to work on tasks which we are not passionate about, but by making progress on passion projects on the side, they slowly will start to grow until we can focus more and more of our time on them. I understood that it wasn't about sacrificing everything today for an imaginary tomorrow, but rather fusing both into the only thing which I can control, which is the present moment.